Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is Bridge the Gap with George Hernandez. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Yes, we've done a rebrand. I'm completely shifting the eccentric mind narrative and transferring and literally bridging the gap between who I once was and bridging the gap towards who I want to be now. A lot of things have shifted since I've moved to Austin, and well before I even moved from California over to Austin. And I think, honestly, being alone has just reinforced my faith furthermore, and getting myself around other people that are also driven and ambitious, but also having faith in God has reinforced a decision to make this rebrand and surrounding my podcast more so on acknowledging my faith and acknowledging my belief in God, while also still carrying on the things that I still know myself. Sorry, my mom is texting me. Lovely lady. So, let's get into it, shall we? The rage you carry transforms the man you're becoming only if you let it. So I was talking to a colleague, 3 days ago by the name of Samuel Dickerson. We actually did a podcast episode together. So if you guys are watching this episode, go back and check out the most recent podcast episode with Sam. It's a fire conversation about weight loss, entrepreneurship, and faith. So check that out for sure. And he said something interesting, which is you use your pain and rage as fuel in order to shift. You change your life for the better. And speaking from personal experience myself, this helped me 100% and it worked. And I'll share why. Today's episode, I'm taking you back to a moment when rage became the way to self-love, even when I didn't know where I was going. Let's get it. So the idea, rage as the first fuel. Based on what Sam said, make your anxiety a source of fuel to improve and be more confident in your own skin. Make your obesity a source of fuel to improve and to get into better physical and mental shape. Get your excuse on what's holding you back, dial it up, and use it as a fuel to change your greatest adversary into your greatest ability. Change from somebody that you don't like into the mirror into the greatest hero in the mirror. God gives his greatest challenges to his strongest soldiers. If you think about it, everyone has some specific issue. I dealt with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, and having overcome it, now I can help somebody else because I have that experience in overcoming it, right? So now it's some form of responsibility onto me to be able to help somebody else out in those same shoes. So think about it. Everyone has an issue, something they deal with, like anxiety, depression, or obesity. You have it not because God hates you, but because God wants you to overcome it so you can then help others who deal with it. Rage to me was the most transcendent emotion that I felt because I was sick of being in this position that I was in for so long, which then began to change the attitude and my actions, but I'll get into that a little bit more. So as a young man in my 20s, I had really powerful emotions that I didn't really understand because for so long, the way I was taught and raised, you have to repress your emotions. You have to distance yourself from feeling any real things. Men don't cry. These types of things. But I hit a breaking point, which I'll share in a little bit, that led me to a place of dissatisfaction and pity for myself. Because now I had to change the way I looked at myself because I hit my breaking point. No longer was I capable of being this bravado, strong individual. No, that illusion that I had actually broke itself apart. Therefore, I had to look at myself the way that I actually was. Weak, frail, tiny. And it dropped me into the forest, or what most people call it, rock bottom. Allow me to take you back a little bit. This story is something I wrote back a while ago that paints a picture as to where I was at, the backstory. He wakes, a blanket covering his body. He refuses to get up. He tosses and turns, hoping he can get back to sleep. He doesn't want to wake up and face the real world today. 19 years old and torn apart in the abdomen from his ex-girlfriend dumping him. Sleep is the healer, and when it's time to wake, he's already a cycle deep in physical, mental, and spiritual pain. 15 minutes until his shift starts at the movie theater. 15 minutes away for him to arrive. Hopefully his car starts today. He arises, instead of grabbing his belongings, getting dressed, or even brushing his teeth, he scrolls through Twitter. But first, he must check his ex-girlfriend's account. her main, and her spam account to see if anything has updated in the last 8 hours since he's last checked. He's scrolling and finds a meme related to sex. In his mind's eye, first thing in the morning, he's thinking of how his ex-girlfriend is already with another man, probably more fit than him, probably nicer to her than he was, probably happier with him than she was ever with me. He's fallen apart, torn to pieces when the day just started. How must he go from here? He gets up thinking to himself, get to work. He steps inside the restroom, begins to brush his teeth with his phone in hand, listening to a love chat video of the exact circumstances he's dealing with. This is Rory with the love chat. As he listens to Rory, he can't help but look at the mirror. All he sees is a blob, a pimple-faced monster, and a spirit that was once alive, now burrowed beneath the grief that he put himself through. His first relationship was good. It was filled with laughter, but it was filled with misunderstanding. He mistook the red flags thrown his way as red roses. Intuitively, he wanted to end the relationship. However, he was overweight, anxious, and unconfident. Nobody could ever want me, he thought. And so, the person he was with was the best he could do. So, he accepted it, even though he was unhappy. Fortunately, his ex-girlfriend had enough and dumped him. His continued love for her was an investment for heartbreak. He's dressed, prepared, and ready to go to work. He steps into a brown old Buick Regal 2003 with no lunch, no water, just a dying phone and yesterday's dirty shirt on. His car turns on, and off he goes. As he drives, he's looking through his Portal app, checking his grades and the recent message from his teachers. One never responded, and the grade was F. The second responded, and the grade? Another F. He arrives to work. The job was 8 hours of being by yourself, and at this time, all he could seemingly think about was his ex-girlfriend playing hopscotch with another man in bed. He couldn't do it. Luckily for him, in his current dismay, it was payday. Nothing like soaking up the depression with the hard-earned paycheck. This was in September, meaning no good movies are coming out at this time. Summer is over, and you're all anticipating Star Wars and old Christmas movies in November and December. Hardly staffed, and people are being sent home early. There are no hours to stand on 2 feet at this point. His anxiety and mental space reached its peak after 2 hours of work because during his break, can you guess what he did? Checked her Twitter again. But this time, she posted another man. When I tell you, my soul left my body. It didn't just seamlessly exit. I felt the inside of my intestines being dug out in a whirlwind like a laundromat. My heart exploded to reach the next layer, and the next, and the next, until a cold, empty, and small heart was standing in a frown. He says, a part of me died, as the TV in the break room goes, line up, Buttercup. Mario, can I talk to you inside? Mario was the manager. Mario was the only lead figure who he felt he could confide in, and he was right. But when you speak to one manager, the whole gang comes around the corner to find out what's going on. He lost himself once he started. The kid broke, telling them that he couldn't handle it at the moment, that his anxiety was at its peak. They told him to go home, and before he did, Mario slipped him his check, a cherry on top of a seeming pile of shit. But it worked. He was at the nearest ATM to cash his check for 2 weeks of hard, consistent, disciplined effort at the movie theater in September. He earned a whopping total of $220.81. Broke, heartbroken, a failure, and in a deep state of depression, he went back to his car to go home, and the car didn't turn on. Something had to change. I bring this up because shortly after, I changed. I changed for the better. I was 25 pounds overweight, depressed, anxious, and a total pig. Playing video games up until the sun would rise, arriving to work late every day, and contemplating suicide throughout. To this day, it's still one of the more haunting moments of my life, but the best thing that could have happened to me. Why? Because it brought me to the conclusion, a very important conclusion, that the pain of staying the same hurt far more than the pain of making a change. Staying in rock bottom would have been hell, and you don't stay in the middle of hell. You get through it. For the first time in my life, I felt rage. Once again, for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to feel rage. Rock bottom sucks because it gives you a clear image of who you've become and what's led you to that point. You use rage as direction on what needs to be changed. Rage isn't something to run from or use as an excuse to do wrong in the world or to blame it for what it did to you. but a God-given source to use to change your life, to shift the rage into something more calming, restorative, and ambient, to slice away the things that hold you back. Yeah, I like that. Because I felt a large sensation of rage. And whenever I went to a gym session, whenever I went for a run, whenever I did something that was actually hard and I was using this repressed emotion and channeling it into whatever I was doing, the outcome of that was me feeling so much more calm and distant away from the emotion, but actually feeling refined by using it. Weirdly, when you use rage into something that's actually meaningful and impactful, or something that's refining you as a person, you feel so much more calm on the other side of it. Rage is direction in these moments. Rage isn't something to run from, but like I mentioned, a God-given source to use to change your life for the better. Most people will listen to this and think, okay, I'm going to use my rage to get back at this person, to get back at that person, to do these harmful things. But I once heard Charlie Kirk say it, and he said something along the lines of, the great thing about the West is that we do something good, or if something bad happens, we do not repeat with bad. If something bad happens, we follow up with something good. And I think you can use that in the sense of rage, where if you feel rage, that is not necessarily a negative emotion, because nothing that comes out of you is bad per se. It's just a valid response, a human response. But most people will go out and do bad with it because it's just powerful. But if you have this supercharged emotion that can do a lot of wrong, but choose to do good with it, you are refining yourself into a much more capable, stronger, grounded man. So, you're tired of being a broke. Quit the part-time job, go full-time, and work 6 times a week if you've never done it. If you're tired of being sad, listen to new music. Channel rage in places that refine you. Gym, courts, library, thinking of your ex. Focus on you. Read books, go to church, lift, improve upon yourself, stay consistent. Rage came in the form of many things. My health, my exercise, my education. Because as you can obviously tell, I wasn't doing these things for me. I was doing it to get back at this individual that made me feel so bad about myself, that made me feel abandoned, that I was inadequate to feel loved. And I was using this person as a source of fuel to get back at them, to prove to them that they made the biggest mistake of their life. But as you can clearly tell by just that alone, this is toxic. The truth, spite isn't sustainable. I wanted to get back at my ex-girlfriend for dumping me. But this is bullcrap. To work just to prove someone else was wrong is ego, revenge, and spite. To prove someone wrong is a weak ambition. Imagine someone coming to you and telling you, oh, you're that person. You know, I built this body, I built this business, I did all of these things just to get back at you. In their mind, they may perceive themselves as the winner, as though they have won, but they used somebody else's negativity to be the foundation to build their tower. But in your head, you're thinking, you did all of this for me? Why? Who's really the winner in that? They never truly owned their transformation because it was rooted on you, and they will never rise that way. My advice to you isn't to use rage. My advice to you is to use it for the good that you can do. Use it to change yourself. Use it to add life, to channel something negative into something positive, to change what's wrong that you don't like about your previous self. Yeah, to change what's wrong that you don't like about what your previous self did, and take action and initiative and responsibility for the actions that you take today to reach a new, higher individual. Because you have parts of you that need refining, so use the rage to refine them, not others to fuel it, okay? You have parts of you that need to change, parts that are no longer serving you into the type of person that you want to become. Therefore, Your fuel shouldn't be on what others did. Your fuel should be about changing the things that you did to yourself that have brought you to this position. So, your faults are what should inspire you, not proving to others that you have no faults. I had to realize sooner or later that it wasn't about what my ex-girlfriend did, but what I did to myself. Tying your identity to someone isn't love, it's dependence. Once that person goes away, you lose yourself. My ex-girlfriend did me a great favor by showing me where my self-love was lacking. But before you reach self-love, you must start with rage. Rage is the starting line, not the destination. Rage leads to self-love. Therefore, use rage to start, not to arrive. You use your rage to get out of hell, not to get you into heaven. And I'm going to end off with this. The reason to deliberately do hard things is so that when non-self-elected challenges arrive, and they will, you can tell yourself, I don't know how this is all going to turn out, but I am certain I can do hard things. That's the outcome of it, you know? Once you decide to use your rage to do hard things, it breaks through inertia. It breaks through this wall right in front of you. And the position that you arrive to because you use the rage and you now lean more on self-love, you can look back and reflect on who you became, what you had to deal with, what walls you had to get through, and you feel so much more self-confidence, self-love in yourself for being able to get through that position. And that's where self-compassion comes in. But like Huberman says, I don't know where this is all going to turn out, but I am certain I can do hard things. Once you break through the vantage point, through the inertia of rage, and you arrive at self-love and self-compassion and God, anything else that comes your way is not a point where you need rage, but just a understanding and a self-belief in yourself that you're capable of doing anything that comes your way. Understand, rage is meant to refine you. Use it for your better benefit. Use it to create something positive, not something negative. It's a powerful emotion, so take advantage of it. So I'm going to ask you at this moment, what was your rage moment? And what did it do for you? Who did it refine you into? Also, podcast episode with Sam. It's coming up, or it's already out. Go ahead and check it out. I'll put it in one of these above on the side. So I appreciate you all for listening and tuning in. This has been Bridge the Gap with George Hernandez. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a fantastic day. God bless you.